Let's lean in. Today I will be discussing the great sport of baseball. Many people see this sport as something that's just a slow-paced, drawn-out game, boring, but I'm going to explain to you exactly why it is the opposite of boring. I'm going to talk about how I grew up playing baseball since I was 4 years old, and how awesome it is, and how my dad raised me playing it. My last speech was on the Curse of the Bambino. My father, you saw, he's a great man. Turn the camera around, Dad. Show him. That's my father. He's a great man. During the minutes to follow, I will talk to you about how it's the most challenging game to play, why it's so challenging, and how you can't just pick it up. I could go start playing golf this year and become good at it in 5 years. You can't just pick baseball up in your 20s and expect to be good at it. We're going to talk about the rules, how exactly baseball works, what sets it apart from other sports, and also what you can do to get more interested in it and take action instead of just saying how boring and terrible it is, and just see how good it is. Then we are going to go to how great baseball is. Alright. Alright, well, first we're going to talk about why baseball is as challenging as it is. And we'll start out by talking about how we have Steven Strasburg, who throws 100 miles an hour, and you could be facing a pitcher throwing 100 miles an hour. He drops the changeup to 79 miles an hour, and a curveball that starts above your head and drops down to your knees. And the ball has to be across the plate, which is 17 inches. And so you got 17 inches to throw a strike, and the strike's in between your knees and the letters of your jersey. That's the strike zone that you have to go off, so it's not the exact same for everybody else. A guy that's 5 foot tall and a guy that's 7 foot tall, it's a different story. We talk about the pitchers have to stand on the mound. They have to be having 1 foot on the rubber, which is the big dirt pile in the middle of the yard. And then the batter has to stand inside the batter's box at all times when he's swinging. He can step out if he wants to take a break or call time and talk to his coach or do whatever he wants to do. Second, let's talk about the fields. And the one thing I like about baseball so much is it's not like basketball where the courts are the exact same all the time, where you got the same three-point line, same distance, same free throw line, same 10 feet high. Or it's not like football where you just have the 100 yards. It's the exact same everywhere. Baseball is a sport where you can have a 430 feet center field. You can have a 400 center foot field. You can have a 10-foot tall fence. Or in Boston, in the Red Sox, they have a green monster, which is about 290 feet in, but it's 37 feet tall. So they call it the green monster. So you see there's so many different aspects to the fields to make it that much more interesting and challenging. You only need 2 things to play baseball. You just need a hat. Every team makes you wear a hat, and you need a glove. So once you make investments in these 2 things, you're not having to go out and buy like golf where you got to buy new clubs and you always got to buy new balls because the balls are provided by the teams and provided by the fields that you play at. Thirdly, we are going to go to exactly how I talked about the fields, talked about the rules, and lastly we talk about we talk about how hard it is, but we got the height of the players is different with the strike zones. We talk about how it's America's pastime. You talk about people saying, basketball is going to overtake or football is going to overtake as America's pastime. But then we see how many fans come out and are secure since 1904, I think, when baseball started. It's just been so interesting, and it builds up, and the fields are getting bigger because there's getting more and more fans. So it's always going to be America's pastime. And we talk about how awesome it is. You can watch it. You need to watch it with more of an open mind. People talk about how lengthy it is, but another thing that's so interesting about baseball would be how there's no time limit. You got 4 quarters in basketball. You got all these different like periods where you have to end at a certain time. And if you do end in a tie, you go into overtime. But it is with baseball, you got 9 innings, but all the innings are lasted exactly the same. You get to go out for 3 outs. You got to get 3 outs with the team batting. And you can go however long it takes to get the 3 outs. If they score 10 runs, they can do that. If they score no runs, they can do that. So there's no time invested in how long the game has to be. And those are just a few reasons I think baseball is the greatest sport. Last thing I love to talk about is how I'm always hungry. And sunflower seeds are something that they always love you to do because they don't like chewing tobacco because that is not good. So you just pop them in your mouth. And you eat them like this. You just crack the seed open, eat the seed, spit out the shell. And I will do it. So that just tops off why I think baseball is the best sport in the world.
Very good, Chris.